Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Harakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great most honorable one, and Shalom, Shalom to the hopeful elect, brothers out there doing the work of sharing truth. Um, yeah, got this article. Well, it's a recent law that passed in the EU. I saw it and it's like with pretty much all of these laws they get, where they're covering the what's it called? With all these laws where they're covering what's it called? Big tech and they'll say hate speech online. These are really aimed at brothers, aimed at the word, because that's that description, they just spread it wide and wide, and essentially it will come down to whatever they don't desire spoken about. And there's various times it will just be like, oh, they'll say, oh, we'll say, oh, this was gonna come to pass. Everyone's like, no, no, your channels get swatted, and then and then 6 weeks later the shit happens, and then your channel's still just been shot and left in an alleyway, man. So it's on AP News. It says EU law targets big tech over hate speech, disinformation. Big tech companies like Google and Facebook parent Meta will have to police their platforms more strictly to better protect European users from hate speech, disinformation, and other harmful online content. And basically, hate speech or disinformation, but it essentially just means whatever, the authorities decide they don't like. That's that's all it ever really summed up to. Uh, and other hate speech, disinformation, other harmful online content under landmark EU legislation approved early Saturday. European Union officials clinched the agreement in principle on the Digital Services Act after lengthy final negotiations that began Friday. The law will also force tech companies to make it easier for users to flag problems, ban online ads aimed at kids, and empower regulators to punish non-compliance with billions in fines. Yeah. And that's how they got. It's like way back in the day, like when anything used to get uploaded to YouTube, them bringing like colossal billion-dollar cases is what they got them to change up. And that's that's what them change up. So you're gonna see. You're gonna see that impact again. It says the Digital Service Act, one half of an overhaul for the 27 nation bloc digital rulebook, helps cement Europe's reputation as a global leader in efforts to rein in the power of social media companies and other digital platforms. With the DSA, the time of online platforms behaving like they are too big to care is coming to an end, said EU Internal Market Commissioner Thierry Breton. EU Commission Vice President Marguerite Vestager added that with today's agreement, we ensure that platforms are held accountable for the risks their services can pose to society and citizens. It's funny as well because social media is actively, especially like Instagram, TikTok, these things, are actively destroying the minds of the destroying the minds of the people. But it's like this ain't even an angle they going at. It's more things being said that things they don't want spoken about online, where you mention certain things, then they're just essentially empowering them so they can just zap you off the platform. The act is the EU's third significant law targeting the tech industry, a notable contrast with the US, where lobbyists representing Silicon Valley's interests have largely succeeded in keeping federal lawmakers at bay. While the Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission have filed major antitrust actions against Google and Facebook, Congress remains politically divided on efforts to address competition online privacy, disinformation, and more. For now, but they've the further regulation of the internet has been something that's people have been trying that for the longest, and it's always what about saying, oh, I say disinformation, I say, oh, people are talking about X, Y, Z, blah blah blah. Um, as such, what it's 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 basically, you know, what's it called? Not a battering ram. It's just a baseball bat to wallop over the head. Certain topics out of discussion online. Ooh. So laws. So while Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission, no, yeah, and Federal Trade Commission have filed, while the Justice Department and Federal Trade Commission have filed major antitrust actions against Google and Facebook, Congress remains politically divided on efforts to address competition, online privacy, information, and more. The EU's new rules would make tech companies more accountable for content creators by users and amplified tech company more accountable for okay, yeah. So I think that was the uh the original law from like what 2000 and something, like maybe it was like late 90s, basically made it so that the platform's not held responsible for what people post on it. But now they're reversing it. So instead of like individual users being the ones to get fined, to get taken to court or whatever, it will be the companies, which will put the fire to their ass to just be like, okay, we're just gonna start fucking deleting everything, we're gonna block out everything. Certain topics are just gonna get thrown in the bin. So, oh. The biggest online platforms and search engines, defined as having more than 45 million users, will face extra scrutiny. Britain said that there were plenty of stick to back up their laws, including effective and dissuasive fines of up to 6% of a company's annual global revenue, which for big tech companies would amount to billions of dollars. Repeat offenders would be banned from the EU, he said. Yeah, so they're looking to just done. Certain things being spoken about, man, and what we talk about is truth, the charagma, certain things. That's why it's like brothers have to speak in code, because these men have been hounded. So it says the tentative agreement was reached between EU Parliament and the bloc's member states. It still needs to be officially rubber stamped by those institutions, which is expected after summer, but should pose no political problem. The rules then won't start applying until 15 months after that approval, or January 1st, 2024, whichever is later. Yeah, even then, that you can have companies which will start putting shit in line just beforehand, so they don't have to be at risk. But yeah, we'll see. It says the DSA is nothing short of a paradigm shift in tech regulation. It's the first major attempt to set rules and standards for algorithmic systems in digital media markets, said Ben Scott, a former tech policy advisor to Hillary Clinton, who's now executive director of advocacy group Reset. The need to regulate big tech became more effective. No. The need to regulate big tech more effectively came into sharper focus after 2016 US presidential election, when Russia used social media platforms to try to influence voters. And the funny thing is, I'm like, that's what all these nations do. All these nations are basically running espionage, running shit in other countries, man. The US will be dipping their fingers into a wide variety. You can go into especially South America. South America is notorious for the American influence upon when they're taking actions. The Middle East as well, and in and around Russia and Eastern Europe have basically, been dipping all kinds of fingers. So it says Facebook. So influence voters, tech companies like Facebook and Twitter promise to crack down on disinformation, but the problems have only worsened during the pandemic. Health misinformation, yeah. That's what they're calling it, and it's funny because they say health misinformation. But a lot of the things you would mention, then it's like 1 week you'll be getting banned for it. 1 week you're getting a fucking strike on your channel. Then the next week, the establishment comes out and says, well, yeah, actually that's actually what's going down. And then lo and behold, yeah, you got the strike for nothing. So it's that's the joke. It's basically just a matter of what at the time they don't want spoken about, and that's that's clearly what it's been. It says and again, and companies. And again, the company was slow to act, cracking down after years of allowing anti-Max falsehoods to thrive on their platforms. Yeah. So, see, it's about what they desire to be, propagated versus not. Under EU law, governments would be able to ask companies to take down a wide range of content that would be deemed illegal, including material that promotes terrorism, child sex abuse, hate speech, and commercial scams. Yeah, hate speech is just the vaguest word ever. Because the rest is just like, oh, that makes sense. And then it's just like, and all the rest we're getting taken down, but it's like hate speech is just that term that they're just throwing out there. They just mean, that shit can mean anything. I could be upset because it's like, oh no, he said the word garlic. No, garlic, that fucks me up, man. If someone says the word garlic, I just have a fit. No, we can't. Then I can get a video where it says a man's talking about a recipe with garlic. Taking that, come on, man. No, he's spreading hate. But that's how bugged out this shit is, man. Alright. We read this, Amos 8:11. It says, behold, the days come, saith the Most High Power, that will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh. Yeah, that's essentially the days we're going into, where the way it's been pushed out is through what? Through the unicorn, man, going through the net. And that's something that has been slowly chipped away. These elites, they don't desire the utilization of the net as it is. Because why? It's pushing too much shit out there, and shit's going out raw and unedited. It's like even what goes down in like war zones and whatnot. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone can get a connection to up that shit to Twitter, to Facebook, to whatever the fuck, and then the whole world sees that shit, man. So that's nah. It's not good, and it's gonna be aimed at the brothers, because that's what we're teaching. That's the main thing. That's the main opposition. Revelation 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time. Yeah, Esau's coming down with that wrath, because why? It's at the tail end. Now is the time where he's looking to get his shit in. He's trying to maximize what he can pull off. He's thinking like, yo, we're just a stone's throw away from from getting what we desire. And hey, they see brothers have been out there. They're looking to okay. They're looking to bring that to an end. They're thinking, okay, we can silence them, but hey, this is a thing. This is it's not something you can silence, man. Acts 5:34. It says, Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space, and said unto them, Ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what ye intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rose up Theudas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. After this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. And this is what, these elites of Esau should bear in mind. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. And that's the thing, is all the carnal means that have been brought against the word, it's still here, still growing, still being pushed out further and further into the world. And what? For if this, and now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, ye cannot overthrow it, least haply ye be found even to fight against the Most High. That's as real as it is. Trying to stop this is ain't gonna happen. And it says, and to him they agreed, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yahushua, and let them go. Yeah, so they're aiming, at the name of Yahushua not being spoken. That same spirit now, where it's just like, okay, look, what these guys are teaching, we want to have the means to just kind of strike that off. Have that now, you can't be talking about that. Because why? It's Yahushua, that's the thorn in their side, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.